In a twisted version of 1982, a massive alien spacecraft suddenly appears above South Africa and hovers ominously for 3 months. When authorities finally decide to take a peek inside, they stumble upon a group of weak and malnourished aliens who had already run out of supplies. These extraterrestrial beings are disgracefully referred to as prawns by humans, and rumors abound about a missing shuttle that descended from the mothership but has yet to be found. In response to mounting international pressure, the South African government herds 1.8 million prawns into a makeshift refugee camp called District 9. Scholars theorize that these prawns are workers by nature and need superior leaders to direct them, as they tend to lack initiative. At first, District 9 appears relatively peaceful, as soldiers and barriers secure the area. It's soon discovered that the prawns have a bizarre appetite for cat food. But as time passes, resentment builds among humans who feel the government is prioritizing the needs of the aliens over their own. The area becomes a derelict slum, further inflaming xenophobic sentiments. The fact that the aliens find amusement in violent activities such as torching vehicles only serves to worsen their predicament. As the district becomes increasingly overcrowded, crime flourishes, and a notorious warlord named Obasanjo sets up a thriving black market that deals in all sorts of illicit goods, including prostitution and arms trafficking. While the aliens possess cutting-edge technology, human hands can barely operate their advanced weaponry. After almost 3 decades of simmering tensions between humans and aliens in the notorious District 9, the government finally succumbs to the relentless public pressure for a change. The decision is made to relocate the camp to a remote location, and they bring in the big guns, quite literally, by hiring MNU, a renowned weapons manufacturer, to execute the move. Leading the charge is Wiku's, Mr. Smith's son-in-law, who is tasked with overseeing the relocation process. With a convoy of vehicles at his disposal, Wiku's is accompanied by a squad of heavily armed mercenaries for his protection, along with an assistant and a cameraman to document the proceedings. But things quickly go south as they face vehement protests from local residents who are opposed to the relocation. As if that's not enough, a few hostile prawns launch an attack on the team, prompting the mercenaries to respond with deadly force. Wiku's takes on the challenging role of going door to door, attempting to persuade the prawns to sign the eviction forms, sometimes resorting to unusual bargaining tools like cat food. While some aliens reluctantly comply, others put up a fierce resistance, resulting in clashes with the trigger-happy mercenaries, much to Wiku's dismay. In the midst of the chaos, a shocking discovery is made, a room filled with prawn eggs, which Wiku's grimly orders to be burned, capturing the disturbing scene on camera. And as if the situation couldn't get any more complicated, the mercenaries also seize various items of alien technology hidden in the shacks, intended for further testing by MNU. Meanwhile, amidst the turmoil, a prawn named Christopher, accompanied by his son CJ and their friend Paul, scavenges through the heaps of destroyed prawn technology in search of a special alien fluid, setting off a chain of events that could change the course of the relocation process and the fate of District 9 forever. After 2 decades of relentless searching, CJ finally makes a groundbreaking discovery, and the group can hardly contain their excitement as they bring it back to their high-tech hideout. With meticulous care, they handle the fluid they found, synthesizing it and securing it in a sleek silver cylinder as part of their master plan. But their jubilation is short-lived when Wiku's and his team show up unexpectedly at their doorstep, throwing them into a state of panic. Christopher and CJ quickly stash the precious cylinder away, and Paul bravely steps up to handle the situation. However, Paul's refusal to cooperate only earns him the wrath of the merciless mercenaries who swiftly overpower him, guns at the ready. Wiku's, with his keen investigative skills, enters the house and discovers not only an arsenal of weapons but also the cylinder. In a moment of unfortunate clumsiness, Wiku's accidentally triggers the cylinder, causing the fluid to spray directly onto his face. In a desperate attempt to get answers, Wiku's tries to interrogate Paul, but the defiant alien fights back with all his might. A chaotic scuffle ensues, pushing Wiku's onto a burning barrel. The situation escalates as Colonel Venter and his reinforcements arrive, brutally ending Paul's resistance and leaving Wiku's with burns on his arm. After receiving urgent medical attention, Wiku's refuses to back down from his mission and presses on, eventually arriving at Christopher's house. Despite his efforts to extend a peace offering with candy to CJ, the reaction he receives is anything but friendly. CJ angrily hurls the candy back at him, triggering a violent response from the humans who forcefully subdue Christopher and conduct a thorough search of the house. As they comb through the advanced equipment, Wiku's suddenly succumbs to vomiting and dizziness, causing alarm among his team. They waste no time in taking him away for urgent medical care, but the situation worsens as Wiku's nose starts bleeding during a brief stop for food. More distressing symptoms manifest when Wiku's returns to the office, including incessant coughing and nails painfully coming off his fingers. Back in the district, Christopher and CJ frantically search for the missing cylinder, their hearts heavy with sorrow when they realize it's gone. In the midst of a high-stakes trade, a group of prawns make a risky exchange, trading their battle suit for cat food at the warlord's base. But things take a dark turn when one of the men succumbs to the primal urge for sustenance and resorts to killing another prawn. Meanwhile, Obasanjo's obsession with obtaining prawn DNA to gain access to their powerful weapons has led him to enlist the help of witches and shamans, but their attempts to transform him by consuming prawn flesh have been futile thus far. Sometime later, Wikuz returns home to a surprise party thrown by his wife Tanya, who is celebrating his recent promotion. Despite putting on a brave face and trying to be sociable, Wikuz is plagued by a gnawing feeling of illness that intensifies until he vomits and collapses. He wakes up in the hospital the next morning, only to be confronted with a shocking revelation: his hand has transformed into a prawn claw. Fear grips him as the doctor frantically calls the mysterious MNU, and before he knows it, soldiers arrive to whisk him away, ignoring Tanya's desperate pleas for answers. In the sterile confines of the MNU lab, Wikuz becomes a pawn in a series of barbaric experiments, including the testing of otherworldly technology. But to his astonishment, his prawn DNA allows him to wield the alien weapons with his newfound prawn claw. Forced to shoot at targets and even take the life of a fellow prawn, the toll on Wikuz's sanity is immense, leaving him mentally shattered. As the experiments come to a close, the scientists and executives, including the notorious Smith, make a chilling decision: Wikuz must die. His organs and blood are to be harvested before his transformation into a prawn is complete. They are convinced that with a DNA composition that perfectly balances prawn and human, they can create an unstoppable army of super soldiers capable of wielding the alien weapons. As Wikuz hears the devastating news, his world crumbles around him. Panic and desperation surge through his veins, driving him to desperate measures. He grabs a scalpel and takes a hostage, using them as a shield to make a daring escape from the lab while mercenaries hot on his heels. Alone on the unforgiving streets, Wikuz resorts to stealing, scavenging, and concealing his prawn claw, all in a desperate bid for survival. With nowhere to turn, Wikuz tries to reach out to his loved ones for help, but his pleas fall on deaf ears. It's not until he steps into a store and sees a broadcast branding him as a wanted fugitive with a contagious disease, stemming from alleged sexual contact with the prawns, that the gravity of his situation truly hits him. The store patrons flee from him in fear, and Wikuz realizes with a heavy heart that he has no choice but to seek refuge in the notorious District 9. Life in District 9 is a harsh reality for Wikuz as he scrounges for food, managing to find a can of cat food which he devours hungrily, only to be met with a cruel twist of fate: he's losing his teeth too. Just when he's at his lowest point, a call from Tanya, once his confidant, crushes his spirit further. Tanya coldly informs him that she wants nothing to do with him anymore, finding him repugnant. Wikuz desperately tries to explain, but Tanya hangs up, leaving him shattered and heartbroken. Driven by a determination to win back Tanya's affections and redeem himself, Wikuz grasps an axe and attempts to remove his prawn claw, the symbol of his downfall. But the pain is unbearable. With mercenaries closing in, Wikuz seeks refuge in a nearby house, only to stumble upon Christopher's secret room, his last hope before succumbing to blood loss and losing consciousness. As Wikuz awakens, he finds himself inside the rumored shuttle hidden beneath Christopher's house, his heart pounding in his chest. He urgently explains to Christopher and CJ that he no longer possesses the cylinder they need. They reveal that the fluid from the cylinder is crucial to reactivate the mothership and potentially reverse Wikuz's harrowing transformation. But there's a catch: retrieving the cylinder would mean facing ruthless mercenaries who would kill them on the spot. The odds seem insurmountable. As Wikuz waits, the pain of his metamorphosis intensifies, his body undergoing grotesque changes with skin peeling and torso mutating. Just when he's feeling utterly hopeless, his phone rings. It's Tanya, promising to take him back and be more understanding this time. A surge of hope rushes through Wikuz, but little does he know that it's a trap orchestrated by the MNU, who have used Tanya to track his location. The stakes have never been higher. Meanwhile, CJ confides in Christopher about their longing for their home planet, but Christopher reminds him that they cannot leave without the crucial fluid. They consider heading to a new settlement instead, but Wikuz overhears their conversation and his heart goes out to them. He knows that the new territory is even worse than the wretched District 9, and the idea of going there is nothing short of reckless. Driven by desperation to help the prawns and reunite with his wife in a better state, Wikuz makes a daring declaration: he has a plan. With grim determination, he seeks out Obasanjo to purchase weapons, only to be met with disdain and violence. The men attacking him notice Wikuz's transformed body, and Obasanjo orders them to retrieve his prawn claw for him to consume, adding insult to injury. Fueled by a newfound resolve, Wiku's fights back against the assailants. He unleashes its incredible force, taking down several foes and grabbing a bag of weapons in a daring escape. As the mercenaries storm Christopher's shack, they are in for a surprise. It's empty. Little do they know, Christopher and Wiku's are on a covert mission, infiltrating the heavily guarded MNU base by blowing up the entrance. Dispatching guards with calculated precision, they finally locate the elusive cylinder in the lab. But what Christopher finds there leaves him shattered: the lifeless bodies of his fellow prawns, including his dear friend Paul, victims of horrific experiments. Paralyzed with shock, Christopher's hesitation gives the mercenaries the upper hand as they catch up and open fire. Wiku springs into action, returning fire with determination, while desperately trying to snap Christopher out of his despair by reminding him of CJ's future. Christopher regains his composure and quickly improvises, using spare materials in the lab to fashion a makeshift bomb, blasting a hole in the wall. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, Wiku's and Christopher make a daring escape from the base, commandeering an MNU vehicle and racing back to District 9 with Venter and his men hot on their heels. Back at the house, CJ wastes no time injecting the precious fluid into the shuttle, and Christopher seizes the moment to share his plan to return in 3 years to cure Wiku's. But fueled by anger, Wiku's lashes out, knocking out Christopher and taking control of the shuttle as CJ completes the fluid injection process, successfully restoring power. Desperate to flee, Wiku's struggles to operate the shuttle, while Venter arrives, threatening Christopher's life. Suddenly, the ground shakes violently, and Christopher and Venter make a hasty escape just as the shuttle lifts off with a jolt. Venter barks orders to his men, who open fire, and a missile strikes one of the shuttle's engines, shattering Christopher's last hope. In the chaos that follows, Venter's men capture both Christopher and Wiku's, preparing to take them away in their vehicle. The ambush is swift and brutal as Obasanjo's gang descends upon the vehicle, causing a chaotic collision with Venter's convoy. Gunfire erupts, filling the air with the crackle of bullets as the gang fiercely fights against the seasoned mercenaries. In the midst of the chaos, Wiku's is captured, leaving Christopher stranded behind. Meanwhile, CJ, a master of technology, deftly deals with the shuttle panel, skillfully activating the dormant mothership. All the alien tech in the gang's base comes to life, including a hidden battle suit. The suit recognizes Wiku's as a prawn ally and the gang members as enemies, and it launches a swift and deadly attack, taking out Obasanjo and his entire gang. As the mercenaries interrogate Christopher for information about the revived mothership, the rest of the group goes in pursuit of Wiku's. Surrounded and with no other options left, Wiku's makes a daring move. He puts on the powerful battle suit and confronts the mercenaries face to face. He realizes that they have also captured Christopher, and in a desperate attempt to save his friend, Wiku's offers to trade the alien for his own freedom. But his resolve quickly hardens when he overhears Venter's ruthless order to kill Christopher. Fueled by a burning fury, Wiku's unleashes a relentless assault on the mercenaries, fighting with everything he's got to save Christopher. With time running out and more mercenaries closing in, Wiku's makes a selfless decision. He stays behind to hold off the advancing forces, buying precious time for Christopher and CJ to escape on the shuttle. Despite Christopher's invitation to his home planet, Wiku's refuses to leave his post, determined to see the mission through. He fights with unrelenting ferocity, leaving a trail of carnage in his wake as he flips cars, fires missiles, and spills blood in a desperate bid to stop Venter. Just as Wiku's is about to take down Venter, a car strikes him from behind, and the battle suit malfunctions. In a critical moment, Christopher manages to contact the mothership through the shuttle control panel, and with a heart-pounding tension, he successfully extracts the shuttle, escaping with CJ just in the nick of time. With the mothership's tractor beam lifting the shuttle into the air, Venter frantically orders for another missile to be launched. But Wiku's takes a daring risk, intercepting the missile with his suit. Unfortunately, the explosion rips off his left arm. With Christopher and CJ escaping in the mothership, Venter's anger knows no bounds, and he relentlessly fires at Wiku's until the suit is destroyed. Crawling out of the wreckage, Wiku's reveals his left eye is swollen and yellow, indicating his transformation into a prawn is nearly complete. Just as Venter raises his gun to finish him off, a group of prawns appear and eliminate Venter, saving Wiku's and accepting him as one of their own. In the aftermath, humans celebrate the departure of the mothership from Earth. Wiku's assistant reveals the illegal research conducted by MNU, leading the government to safely relocate 2.5 million prawns to the new District 10 and demolish District 9. Though Wiku's story gains notoriety, most people eventually forget about him, assuming he has perished. However, Tanya remains hopeful after finding a handcrafted metal flower at her doorstep, a skill she recognizes as Wiku's own. In the landfill, Wiku's is revealed to be alive and fully transformed into a prawn, creating more metal flowers from trash and demonstrating his resilience and adaptability in the face of adversity.